There's a strange silence that follows you, Capricorn. Not the silence of peace, but the kind that settles in after you've held everyone else's world together and suddenly realize no one is holding yours. You've been the one people call in crisis, the anchor when everyone else is drifting, the steady ground beneath others' storms. And yet, in your quietest moments, you've wondered, who holds me when I fall? You've shown up. Again and again. For family, for friends, even for people who forgot your birthday the moment theirs passed. You've helped them stand tall while hiding your own exhaustion behind a polite smile and a "I'm fine." But here's what no one told you. The universe never forgot. Every sacrifice. Every time you gave with no applause. Every silent prayer whispered when no one was looking. Every single act has been recorded, not by the world, but by something much bigger. And now, something is shifting. Someone is coming. But not just anyone. This person isn't appearing out of pity. They are being sent, with precision, with purpose, to give you back what you've poured into everyone else. Not to save you, but to see you. Not to carry your burden, but to lift your soul. Before we begin, breathe deep. Because what you're about to hear is not just comfort. It's confirmation. Stay with me until the very last word. Because your heart, the one that's been overlooked for far too long, is finally about to receive what it's always deserved. Part 1. The sacred weight Capricorn chose to carry. Capricorn doesn't stumble into responsibility. They choose it. Not because it's easy, not because they crave control, but because deep within the soul of every Capricorn lives a vow. If no one else can carry it, I will. From a young age, you learned that stability isn't a luxury, it's survival. While others were still dreaming, you were already calculating. While some were waiting to be rescued, you were already building the lifeboat. Responsibility became your second skin, not just in your job, your relationships, or your finances, but in your very identity. You became the one people leaned on because you rarely leaned on anyone yourself. But here's the truth no one tells you. Carrying the world may look powerful, but it comes with a price, a sacred one. And Capricorn, you've been paying it quietly for years. A story they'll never tell, but you lived. Let me tell you about Nathan, a Capricorn man from North Carolina. He worked 3 jobs to keep his family afloat after his father disappeared. Not once did he complain. His little sister thought the light stayed on because of God. She never knew it was because Nathan skipped meals to keep the bills paid. He was the glue, invisible but essential. And years later, when that same sister graduated college, she told everyone about her success. But she never mentioned his name. Not because she didn't care, but because she never knew what he sacrificed to make her dream possible. That's the thing about Capricorns. You give without needing recognition. You sacrifice without sending out invoices. But still, there are nights when you wonder, does anyone see what I'm carrying? The emotional tax of being the strong one. Being the strong one doesn't mean you feel strong all the time. It just means you've learned how to function through fatigue. And that isn't sustainable. Even pillars crack. Even mountains erode. Capricorn, your strength is legendary, but it is not limitless. And pretending that it is, that's what's been silently draining you. You've helped others hold it together, even while quietly falling apart yourself. But here's where everything changes. What if the weight you've been carrying wasn't a punishment, but a preparation? What if this sacred burden was the very thing shaping you into someone the universe refuses to overlook? Because the moment of replenishment is coming. The one you didn't dare ask for, but secretly needed, is already walking toward you. And their role isn't to rescue you. It's to remind you. Even the strongest deserve to be held. Life lesson from part 1. Being strong doesn't mean doing everything alone. It means knowing when to lead and when to let someone walk beside you. Your strength has built others. Now it's time for your strength to be restored. Part 2. The invisible record. Every sacrifice has been seen. Capricorn, if no one has said this to you yet, let me be the first. Nothing you've done in love has gone unnoticed. You may not have received a thank you. You may not have been acknowledged in the moment. But what you gave, what you endured, what you quietly held, it was seen. Not by the crowds, not by the people you helped who moved on, but by something greater. There is a sacred record, a spiritual ledger that doesn't miss a single tear, a single sleepless night, or a single moment when you put others ahead of yourself even when you were barely holding it together. People may forget, but the universe doesn't. Heaven doesn't. And neither does the energy you've been pouring into the world. Every action of love, loyalty, integrity, even when inconvenient, has been entered into this invisible book. And now, Capricorn, the scales are tipping. Not because you asked, but because it is time. That invisible record, it is speaking. And what it's saying is this: now you will receive what you once gave, but multiplied. Think about all the moments you stayed behind to help clean up someone else's mess, emotional, financial, or spiritual. Think about all the times you said yes when your body, your heart, your soul wanted to scream no. Think about the people you carried on your back while they barely looked over their shoulder to see if you were okay. It was not for nothing. You see, Capricorn, your sacrifice has created a spiritual imbalance, not in your harm, but in your favor. And now the universe is moving to restore it. This is not about karma in the way most people think of it, punishment and reward. This is about alignment. This is about justice that moves in silence. The person who is coming into your life, the one who will help lift what you've carried alone, is not just arriving out of kindness. They are arriving as the physical manifestation of everything you've earned but never received. They are your spiritual return. And when they show up, and they will, you will know it's not coincidence. It's confirmation. Because the ones who carry others rarely get carried themselves. But now, it is your turn. And you won't have to fight to prove your worth. You won't have to beg for attention. They'll see it. They'll see you. Not just the strong front you wear, not just the success you've built from struggle, but the heart behind it all, the one that kept giving, even when no one gave back. This is the justice that has been forming in the silence. The repayment that has been maturing in the background. And now it is making its way into your life. Not because you demanded it, but because you deserve it. That invisible record, it has just turned the page. And the next chapter belongs to you. Life lesson from part 2. Everything you give in love is accounted for. You may not see the return right away, but energy, especially the pure kind, never disappears. It finds its way back to you when you need it most. Part 3. Why you felt so alone and why it wasn't a mistake. Capricorn, the loneliness you've carried. It wasn't imagined. It wasn't exaggerated. And most importantly, it wasn't meaningless. You felt it in rooms full of people. In relationships that looked strong on the outside. Even during celebrations where everyone smiled, but your soul felt absent, as if your spirit was standing in the corner, watching life move without truly including you. But here's the truth. That loneliness wasn't punishment. It was preparation. You see, when a soul is being called to carry sacred responsibility, not just for their own life, but for others, it often walks alone for a while. Not because it isn't worthy of company, but because it is being shaped in silence. Capricorns are born with the energy of Saturn, the great teacher. And Saturn doesn't train through comfort. It trains through challenge, through discipline, through delayed reward and internal growth. That ache you felt, the one that made you question if you even belong anywhere, was not proof that you're broken. It was proof that you were becoming. The world needed someone like you, someone with roots that go deep, someone who doesn't collapse at the first storm. But to grow those roots, you had to walk through seasons where no one watered you. It's painful, it's unfair, and it's real. But it was never random. You were not passed over. You were being carved into someone who wouldn't mistake attention for love, who wouldn't confuse noise for truth, and who could stand alone without falling apart. And now, because you've walked through that valley, you are able to recognize real support when it comes. Not surface-level help, but soul-level alignment. Let me tell you about Clara, a Capricorn woman from New Jersey. She raised 3 boys alone after her husband abandoned the family. She worked 2 jobs, paid off debt that wasn't even hers, and still found time to bake birthday cakes by hand. But when she got sick, There was no one to bring her soup. No one called. She told herself she was strong enough to be alone, and she was. But strength doesn't mean we don't long for softness. And one night, while sitting in a quiet hospital hallway waiting for test results, a nurse who barely knew her sat beside her and said, "You've been strong for everyone. You don't have to be tonight." She cried for the first time in years. That moment didn't undo the years of solitude. But it proved something. Even one sincere presence can heal 1,000 silent wounds. Capricorn, the solitude you've known wasn't failure. It was a sacred cocoon. It's why, when the one sent to help you finally arrives, you'll recognize their authenticity immediately. Because you've known the difference. You've lived the absence. Now you'll recognize the real thing. And when you do, let them in. Because even the strongest mountain deserves someone to lean back against. Life lesson from part 3. Loneliness is not always a sign of being forgotten. Sometimes it's the sacred space where strength is born and where discernment is sharpened to recognize real love when it finally shows up. Part 4. The person who's coming, what they'll bring, and why it's no accident. Capricorn, the person who is coming into your life isn't just showing up randomly. They are arriving as part of a greater alignment. An answer to the prayers you whispered when no one else was listening. You may not recognize them right away. They might not come with a dramatic entrance or grand gestures. In fact, they may show up in the most ordinary of ways. A conversation that feels too meaningful to be small talk. A coincidence that feels too exact to be accidental. A moment that lands too deeply to ignore. And when it happens, something in you will pause. Not out of fear, but familiarity. Because your soul will know what your mind hasn't yet processed. This person sees me. They'll bring more than presence. They'll bring restoration. Not because you're broken, but because you're tired. They'll notice what others missed. The way your voice softens when you're hiding pain. The way you keep moving when others would fall apart. The effort behind your silence. And instead of praising you for being strong, they'll offer you something stronger. Relief. This person may come in the form of a mentor who opens a door you've been knocking on for years. A friend who refuses to let you downplay your worth anymore. A partner who finally understands that love doesn't mean leaning on you, it means standing beside you. Or even someone you've helped in the past, now returning to bless you in a way that only they can. They will not see you as a project. They will not pity you. They will not offer help with strings attached. They will come with hands open, not to take, but to give. Because what they carry is what you've been missing. Encouragement that doesn't feel forced. Support that doesn't require asking. A calm that softens the noise of everything you've been holding. This isn't just a kind person. This is a divine delivery. The universe sending someone not to rescue you, but to meet you where you are, and remind you that you don't have to keep climbing without a rope. And the most healing part. You won't have to explain yourself to be understood. They'll know. Because they were sent to know. And when they offer help in the form of presence, opportunity, wisdom, or quiet strength, don't brush it off. Don't say, "I'm fine." Don't say, "You don't have to." Let them. Because they are not showing up by accident. They are the arrival of everything your soul has earned, in a form your heart can finally receive. Life lesson from part 4. The help you need often doesn't look how you expect, but it arrives exactly how your soul requires. Stay open, not just to the obvious, but to the subtle miracles sent for you. Part 5. The Capricorn instinct to refuse help and why you must break that habit now. Capricorn, let's be honest. Receiving help doesn't come naturally to you. Not because you don't need it. Not because you don't deserve it. But because somewhere along the way, you taught yourself that needing others was dangerous, or worse, a weakness. Maybe it was a time when you depended on someone and they failed you. Or maybe it was watching someone close to you fall apart because they didn't know how to stand on their own. So you swore, "I'll never need anyone. I'll carry it myself." And you did. You carried the bills, the secrets, the emotional weight of entire households. You became the one who fixes, the one who shows up, the one who holds it together. So when someone tries to show up for you, something in your body tenses. You smile politely. You say, "Thanks," But I'm good. Even when you're not. Capricorn, this is the wall you've built for survival. But it's also the same wall that's blocking your restoration. There is a difference between independence and isolation. You were not meant to be a self-contained universe, endlessly pouring out without being poured into. But that's what your life has become. A one-way current. You give. Others receive. And when someone tries to return the flow, you question it. You push it away. You mistrust it. Why? Because you've trained yourself to believe that receiving comes with debt. That if someone helps you, you'll owe them. That letting your guard down will make you look needy, or worse, weak. But here's the truth. Receiving is not weakness. It's wisdom. It is the understanding that strength is sustained through balance, not burnout. The universe is trying to send help to you now. But if you meet that help with the reflex of self-protection, you will miss the very thing your soul has been asking for. Imagine a thirsty person turning away from water because they're not used to being offered anything freely. That's what happens every time you say no thanks to sincere support. And here's the irony. You want others to accept your help without hesitation. You want them to know it comes from love, not from expectation. So why don't you offer yourself the same grace? Capricorn, the time has come to break this cycle. Not just so you can be helped, but so you can finally feel what it's like to be held. Let someone pour into you. Let someone check on you. Let someone care for you without feeling like you need to earn it. Because you've already earned it. 100 times over. This chapter of your life doesn't require you to prove anything. It only asks that you open your hands and finally allow what's been waiting to arrive. Life lesson from part 5. Rejecting help isn't strength, it's unhealed survival. And healing begins the moment you allow someone to be there for you without guilt, fear, or resistance. Part 6. How to recognize the real ones. Not everyone who offers help is meant to stay. Capricorn, your heart is disciplined, but it's not naive. You've learned, sometimes the hard way, that not every outstretched hand is genuine. And not every offer of help comes without a hidden cost. You've had people show up in your life with smiles, promises, even grand gestures, only to later reveal they were keeping score. They weren't giving from love. They were investing for leverage. And when it was time for them to return the favor, they disappeared. This is why you hesitate now. Why even sincere help feels like a setup. Because in your experience, many who offered support ended up draining more than they gave. So how do you know who's real? How do you know when help is actually divine, not disguised manipulation? It starts with this. Real help doesn't demand attention. It doesn't announce itself loudly. It doesn't need to be posted, praised, or paraded. Real help feels like peace, not pressure. Let me tell you a story. Elena, a Capricorn from Denver, once lost her job unexpectedly. She didn't tell anyone, not even her closest friends. But one night, her neighbor, an older man named Mr. Jenkins, knocked on her door. "I don't know why," he said, "but I made extra dinner and felt like you might want company." He didn't ask personal questions. He didn't pry. He just sat with her, talked about the weather, and left her with enough leftovers for the week. Later, when Elena found work again, she tried to repay him. He simply said, "You don't owe me anything. People helped me once, too." That was real. It was quiet, gentle, intentional. Capricorn, here's how you know it's real. When their support doesn't come with a contract. When they don't make you feel guilty for needing. When they don't use your vulnerability as currency for control. The ones who are sent by the universe won't demand that you open up quickly. They'll wait. They'll earn your trust. They won't just listen to your words, they'll listen between them. The people who are meant to stay will respect your strength, but won't be intimidated by your softness. They'll understand that even the most resilient people need rest. And they won't take your silence as rejection, they'll recognize it as the quiet of someone who's carried too much for too long. The others? They'll grow frustrated when you don't fall apart fast enough. They'll push boundaries. They'll make it about them. And eventually, they'll leave when you stop being useful. And when they do, let them. Because not every kind voice deserves a seat at your table. And not every helping hand is worthy of your open door. This season of your life isn't just about receiving. It's about discerning. Capricorn, you've been the builder of foundations. Now, it's time to build boundaries. Life lesson from part 6. Not every presence is a blessing. Spiritual maturity is knowing how to open your heart without leaving your soul unguarded. Let the real ones in and let the others pass through. Part 7. The signs that help is closer than you think. Capricorn, help rarely arrives with fireworks. It doesn't always knock on your door with a loud announcement. Often, it begins with whispers. Shifts so subtle that most people miss them. But not you. You've lived long enough in silence to know when the energy around you starts to change. You may not always have the words, but your spirit knows. So how do you know that someone is being sent to help you now? Not in theory. Not someday. But soon. You begin to notice what you used to overlook. Strangers offering small kindnesses, holding the door, letting you go first, offering a genuine compliment without expectation. Moments where you feel oddly safe, even in situations that used to trigger anxiety. A sudden feeling of peace, not because your problems have vanished, but because you feel, just for a second, that you're no longer alone in them. These aren't coincidences. They're signals. Proof that the spiritual tide is shifting. And then come the signs that speak directly to you, as if the universe is whispering only in your direction. You'll overhear words in public, phrases like "you're not alone," or "let me help you," that hit deeper than they should. You'll see repeating numbers, symbols, or song lyrics that feel like they're timed perfectly for what you've been thinking. Someone may say something offhand, like "you've carried so much," and they don't even know your story, but somehow, you feel seen. You may even begin to dream again, vivid dreams that feel less like imagination and more like memory from a future that's already been written. These are not illusions. They are soft alerts that someone is being guided toward you. Not just a person, but a presence. A shift. A force of alignment. And here's the key. When help is close, your soul will begin to prepare. You'll find yourself tidying your space, ending conversations that drain you, or suddenly craving solitude. Not to isolate, but to make room. Your heart will feel both nervous and expectant, as if it knows that something or someone is almost here. This is the calm before restoration. Capricorn, don't ignore these signs. Don't brush them off as imagination. You've asked for help in silence for too long. Now that it's answering, listen. Because the moment just before breakthrough often feels like nothing at all. That's how quietly destiny moves. And if you stay aware, not anxious, just aware, you'll recognize the arrival not as surprise, but as confirmation. Life lesson from part 7. When help is near, the universe speaks gently. The more present you become, the more guidance you'll hear. And when it comes, it will feel like something your soul always knew was on its way. Part 8. When the moment arrives, how to say yes without fear. Capricorn, you've been preparing for this moment longer than you realize. All the years you've spent giving, building, enduring in silence, they weren't just about survival. They were about shaping a soul that could finally recognize real support when it truly arrives. But here's the hard part. When help finally does come, your first instinct may still be to resist it. Not because you don't want it, but because you're afraid of what accepting it might mean. You worry. If I say yes, will they see me as weak? If I let someone carry me, will I lose control? If I let them close, will they leave like the others? These fears are not irrational, they're the scars of past disappointments. But if you let them drive, they will block the very blessings you've spent years praying for. Capricorn, when this person reaches out their hand, whether with a word, a gesture, an offer, your job is not to shrink. It's not to retreat. It's to pause, breathe, and allow. You don't have to overshare. You don't have to explain every detail of your journey. You simply have to say one thing that might be the most courageous sentence you've spoken in a long time. Yes, I'll accept this. It might be help with something small, a task, a bill, a word of encouragement. It might be something larger, a partnership, an opportunity, an emotional anchor. Whatever it is, understand this. You're not burdening anyone by receiving. You're not taking advantage. You're allowing energy to flow both ways, as it was always meant to. Capricorn, the world has benefited from your strength. Now it's time for the world to pour into your strength. And it's okay if receiving feels awkward at first. You've been the giver for so long, your nervous system may not know how to relax into someone else's care. That's okay. Healing is rarely comfortable, but it is necessary. Say yes, even if your voice trembles. Say yes, even if part of you still expects the worst. Say yes, because deep down, your soul knows this is the moment you've been preparing for. Don't wait until you're completely ready. Don't wait until you feel deserving. Say yes, because you're human. And you've done enough. This chapter is not about proving. It's about receiving. And the more you lean into it, the more you'll realize. This isn't weakness. This is trust. And trust is strength in its most sacred form. Life lesson from part 8. The greatest healing begins with a quiet yes. When you stop resisting what is meant for you, you stop surviving and begin to live. Part 9. This help isn't temporary, it's the beginning of a new foundation. Capricorn, after everything you've been through, it's only natural to ask, what if this help doesn't last? What if this person leaves like the others? What if this moment of care is just that, a moment? You've trained yourself to expect the temporary, to not get too comfortable, to quietly enjoy the rare support while preparing for its exit. Because in your life, comfort has always come with an expiration date. But this time it's different. And you can feel it. The presence coming into your life isn't here just to patch a hole. They're here to build something with you, something stable, something rooted. Because here's the truth no one else told you. Temporary help fixes symptoms, but lasting connection heals systems. And Capricorn, what's arriving now is not just someone to get you through the week. It's someone to help you build the next decade. They're not showing up for applause. They're not here to play hero. They're arriving because your soul and theirs in some unseen space have already agreed. We'll walk this next part together. This isn't about codependence. This isn't about being rescued. This is about co-creation. About building with someone who isn't intimidated by your strength and isn't afraid of your scars. They don't need you to shrink to feel needed. They don't need you to perform to feel close. They're not just here for the breakthrough, they're here for the bricklaying. Let me say that again. They're here to help you build. The person who's coming into your life will become part of the foundation you stand on. Not a visitor. Not a detour. But a pillar. And you'll know they're different because they don't just show up when you fall apart. They stay when you're quiet. They remain when there's no drama, no crisis, no role to play. They love your strength, yes, but they also hold space for your softness. Capricorn, you've always been the structure. Now, someone is arriving to help fortify that structure to make sure you don't just survive, but thrive. And here's the most powerful part. They are not here to complete you. They are here because you are already whole and ready to build something bigger than yourself. You don't have to question how long they'll stay. Because what's built with intention, stays. Life lesson from part 9. Not all help is fleeting. Sometimes, it marks the start of a lasting foundation, not just of support, but of mutual strength. The right people don't come and go. They come and grow with you. Part 10. Why you deserve this even if you still struggle to believe it. Capricorn, you've spent so much of your life earning everything. Nothing was handed to you. Not peace. Not comfort. Not even love. You worked for stability. You worked for trust. You worked to be the one others could rely on even when you couldn't rely on anyone else. And now, something unexpected is happening. Help is arriving. Support is being offered. Love, not the transactional kind, but the real kind, is making its way toward you. And still, part of you hesitates. Part of you whispers, did I really earn this? Why now? What if it disappears the moment I accept it? Capricorn, hear this clearly. You do not have to earn every good thing that enters your life. Some blessings are not rewards. They are recognition. Recognition of your strength when no one was watching. Recognition of the way you loved quietly, gave silently, sacrificed without credit. Recognition of a heart that kept choosing loyalty in a world that rarely returned it. You've mistaken exhaustion for humility. You've confused self-sacrifice with worthiness. But let me tell you, your worth was never tied to how much you could endure. Your value doesn't increase the more you suffer. You are not loved because you are useful. You are loved because you are you. Even if you've made mistakes, even if you've carried resentment, even if you've built walls so high that some people gave up trying to climb them, you are still worthy. Worthy of rest. Worthy of reciprocity. Worthy of being poured into, not just emptied out. Let me say this slowly. You are not a project. You are not a role to be filled. You are not just the backbone for someone else's life. You are a soul. A whole, complex, tender, powerful soul. And this help that's coming to you, this love that is reaching for you, it's not a mistake. It's not a trick. It's not a test. It is alignment. It is timing finally catching up to what your spirit has always deserved. And if it feels unfamiliar, that's okay. Healing often does. But unfamiliar doesn't mean untrue. It just means you're stepping into a space you were always meant to occupy, but never allowed yourself to fully enter. So when the help arrives, when someone sees you and stays, when the love doesn't demand, but gives, let yourself receive it. Not because you've been perfect, but because you've been real. And real is enough. Always has been. Life lesson from part 10. You don't have to justify being cared for. You are enough, exactly as you are, even in the moments you still doubt it. Part 11. The final truth: you're no longer alone, and it's time to be lifted. Capricorn, let this truth settle deep into your spirit. You are no longer alone. You may have walked for miles in silence. You may have built empires no one clapped for. You may have carried burdens that would have broken others, and still smiled through the pain. But now, the season of silent suffering is closing. The era of being the only one holding everything together is ending. Someone is coming, not to save you, but to stand with you, to pour into you, to listen without judgment, to lift what you've been carrying so long. You forgot what life feels like without it. And this time, you won't have to explain. You won't have to prove. You won't have to earn. This time, Capricorn, all you have to do is receive. Because the universe has seen. Because your spirit is ready. Because everything you've poured out is returning, not as obligation, but as grace. And as you step into this new chapter, remember, you don't have to shrink to be loved. You don't have to stay strong to be accepted. You don't have to give endlessly to deserve someone who gives back. You've done enough. Now it's your turn to be cared for. So breathe, let go, and open your hands. Because what's arriving is not a favor. It's the long-awaited balance your soul has always known was coming. This is your time. This is your restoration. And you, dear Capricorn, are no longer alone. Say it out loud even if your voice trembles. Help is coming to me. Now say it in the comments. Let the words take form. Let the community see you, stand with you, lift you the way you've lifted others for so long. And if this message spoke to you, not just to your mind, but to your soul, subscribe to Zodiac Secrets Revealed. Because here, we don't just talk about astrology. We reveal the deeper meaning behind what your sign has always been trying to show you. That your strength is real. That your softness is sacred. And that your story, even the quiet parts, has always mattered. Capricorn, this is not the end of the journey. It's the beginning of everything you finally get to receive. And it starts now.